indigenous people that were taught that we must keep these ways sacred, keep the tradition going no matter what. It's only passed down in ceremony, secret ceremony, to certain people, and so forth, and don't ever tell anybody, and you must never, ever change it. It's the same thing that people are told, never change one iota in the Bible or don't ever rewrite anything. That's what we had to do because there was a lot of corrupting influences during the last few thousands of years. But that time has come to an end. Now it's the time for the new revelation. The Hopis are waiting for Pahana, the white brother. When the first white brother showed up for the Hopi, it was one of Cortez's captains. And the Hopi came out to him and put in his hand the holy corn and the holy items. And this captain looked at these items and threw them to the ground and basically disrespected it. So the Hopi had a bad experience with their first encounter with Pahana, white brother. But here's what Quetzalcoatl is sharing with us too. The white brother is meant to receive this info and disseminate it in the world. The Incas and the Hopi, now think of that. You could perhaps say they are the ultimate sort of keepers of the light flame in the North America, the Hopi, and in South America, the Inca. They both have the same prophecy, which is that the white man will come to us before the change in the world, before we enter into the fifth world or the new age or the next cycle of cosmic clock spinning, spiraling galactic change, which 2012 is a indicator of it. It's not a hard and fixed, on-off switch. Come on, 2012 is not on-off switch. It is a easing into it. But the Hopis and the Incas have the same one, that when our young people, when we have been dissolved, sort of destroyed as a culture, and our young people don't want anything to do with the old ways, then the white man will come to us, and we will give it the final secrets, and will be given to the white man, and the white man has to disseminate it to his people, to the world. So Quetzalcoatl and the shaman and the Kiva were very excited, in a sense. Now, this is on the human level, that we were able to get it. Because that's part of the completion, this dissolving of all the old. It's like someone who's kept a manuscript for thousands of years, but his goal is really to give it to that one person or those people that are supposed to arrive. And once they complete that mission. So that was part of what was disseminated to us. And then the other thing they showed us is how they traveled instantly and actually would talk. Better than telephone, better than internet, better than Skype. Right? More powerful than Skype. They had the inner Skype, and they could commune with each other in kivas all over the Americas, these sacred ceremonial houses. And also he said, this indicates for those that wish it and those that are ready and those that want it, there is a thinning of the veils. There is a clearing of the locks between dimensions, and we are now going to be able to go back to this easier way of living, where we will be able to travel more lightly in our bodies. Now, many of us out there are going to think, oh my God, Tobias has been, we tend to put, if anyone can do these things, we say, I can't do that. But I just want to sow a seed for everybody. It's not going to take as much work as it used to. No 30 years of sitting meditating in caves. No having to, suffer the way St. Francis did. No having to do what St. Anthony did, live in a cave for 40 years on bread and water. This time, you're going to find yourself reawakening to things very, very easily. It'll come almost overnight, the twinkling of an eye. So Quetzalcoatl and his shaman helper were sharing that with us in the Kiva. And we were doing this in the middle of basically just a few people, but of a national park. And that's because we loved the park rangers. We loved them on the way in. We totally accepted their role. We didn't feel that they were in the way or doing it in a militaristic way, which I used to feel. But we appreciated them, truly honored what they were doing, and we were given sacred space to be able to receive this message. It was very beautiful.
So the other word that you sent me for things that we could cover in the show was Anazazi?
Yes, thank you.
Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes, you are. Yes.
Okay.
The Anazazi is a Hopi word, and again, I get my information directly from the spirits, but and I trust that more than I do textbooks and sort of mind-learning archaeology. But Anazazi is a Hopi word that simply means the old ones, the ancient ones. And Anazazi were all the way in Colorado. They were in the Four Corners area, down to Sedona, up north of Flagstaff. You know, they're the Pueblo cliff dwellers that all of a sudden just disappeared. And it has been a conundrum for archaeologists. Where did they go? Why did they go? And the general belief is that they felt, there was a huge drought and they had to leave. That is not the truth. I've had Zuni people tell me that's not what happened at all. And I have to honor what they say and not say what actually happened from their point of view until it's ready. But it was not about that. It was not that they had to leave, it's that they chose to leave, at Chaco Canyon, for instance. So, and again, I wanted to say, so the Anazazi, that's exactly what Quetzalcoatl was showing. He's saying that is the old ones who had these powers. This was the communion. The Hopi are the Anazazi. The Hopi are the Anazazi. The Navajo came later. They came much, much, much later. And so they are one continuous people, the Hopi, that have been, they actually were around during the fall of Atlantis, and they went underground and lived with what they call the ant people in the Grand Canyon. And there are some stories of huge caverns being found inside the Grand Canyon that are off limits now, certain parts of the canyon, even to the Park Service. There's parts of the canyon that are off limits to the Park Service. I don't want to feed the conspiracy. Yeah, I don't want to feed the conspiracy theory thing too much, but we can do it with a grain of salt. But there's a cavern there that was discovered by the Smithsonian in 1915. You can still dig this article up. Kincaid was the name of the gentleman. He wrote an article for the Smithsonian about finding this cave that had pillars and what looked like Buddhas and ancient Egyptian things, which are really Atlantean things. And the Hopis lived underground, according to their stories, and came back out into this world after the cataclysm of the flood and the sinking of Atlantis was over. So they are the Anazazi. But so as we're sitting in the Kiva, we're feeling more of who the Anazazi were, and they were these communing people that could commune and travel from South and North America. They were the old ones. They were before it turned into warfare. Just like on the East Coast, the true Hiawatha disappeared. Ken Carey writes beautiful books about that, the return of the bird tribes. And it happened here in Arizona, too, in the Superstition Mountains. When the white people came, there were certain parts of the natives that simply receded into other dimensions. They are not interested and not part of acting out the violent game of, disease and war and all that stuff. Those are the ancient ones. They receded into other dimensions. The Superstition Mountains, I've met them. Again, we're telling truth here. It's time to come out of the spiritual closet for many, many, many of us. And I'm a normal guy. I grew up in Sweden. I went to high school and college and graduate school, and decided I need to know more about what's really going on here. So this is happening for millions of us on the planet at this time, and it's really a really exciting time, Tom, because we're going to have access to all these tools that we've been carefully crafting for the last 12,000 years. So, yes, the Anazazi were the ancient ones that basically when they knew Cortez and company and the Pilgrims and all that showed up in America, in the Americas, they receded, they sort of turned the dial and went into other dimensions. They're still there. They're still existing, but these dimensions are now going to be merging again. That's part of the 0 point thing, 2012, the countdown to the merging of the dimensions. So we will start contacting them more and more easily. like happened for us up there. So it was very beautiful. It was and here's the other thing Quetzalcoatl just shared, that he said, he explained that for shamans, feathers and dance, working with animals and just the shaman evolutionary path is different than the yogic path or the Christian path. They're just different paths of enlightenment, of awakening. And he shared with me that this is the form I take as the ultimate shaman Christ. He is the shaman Christ, Quetzalcoatl. That's the ultimate form. He has wings to fly. He's got the power of the reptiles, of humanity, of angels, everything. He is the full spectrum. But that's the form that shamans would take as the ultimate development, if that makes sense.
Okay, well, let's explore that a minute. We've heard a lot about, it's not so much that Christ is returning as humanity will embrace a Christ consciousness. Is that what we're talking about here?
Absolutely, and that's exactly why Quetzalcoatl won't show up either. Jesus will not show up on the streets of New York and do a press conference, and neither will Quetzalcoatl show up and land at Teoutihuacan or at Coricancha in Cusco and bring back the old ways. That is not how it's going to happen. That's why they, and I don't speak for them, obviously, I speak from my limited understanding of what they share with me. But my sense of it is that they are encouraging us. In the Kiva, he is excited, encouraging us. You guys are getting it. It's just like when your dog gets it or when your child learns to ride a bike, We're excited and proud. And I have to say, I felt part of that from him because they're human too. They have human feelings, Otherwise, they become stale, statue, dead stone gods. That's not what Christ's and Quetzalcoatl's and Archangel Michael's, that's not what they're like. They're the ultimate vibrating, soft, membranic, powerful, gentle, organic God beings, But exactly. So he was basically, part of the message was, you could feel he was excited about us getting it, because that's where the action is. The action is not in being followers anymore. The action is in being awakened, in becoming pieces of God, pieces of Christ, pieces of Quetzalcoatl. Follow your path and actually actualize it. Exactly. The true awakening this time is through millions of us on the planet, not through just a few leaders, Absolutely.
All righty. So what else happened? I mean, how long did this experience last?
Well, the experience probably only lasted, because there's no time. It literally just lasted like 2 minutes. But just like in the new movie Inception, I wish they didn't do it through war and guns and, that espionage thing. But that new movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, just like in there, for some of you that will see or have seen it, that 5 minutes in one dimension is actually, 5 hours in another dimension.
Uh-huh.
And then each level it gets bigger and longer, So those 2 minutes were actually as long as we wanted, but it happens quickly. And then we also received a direct message that was just for the group. So we probably spent a total of about a half hour, 45 minutes probably in the Kiva, and then 20 minutes of doing the message. But the message came to us almost instantly. It's the way we get a download. I don't know how else to say it. It's sort of an instant aha, aha, aha. You get it. And but the basic, and it's hard to translate this in a way because we're really bridging the old way here. We're already sounding pretty far out probably from some of the stuff I've said. But we're trying to bridge these worlds. That's the saying, God works in mysterious ways. Well, only mysterious to our ego minds. Our soul bodies, our inner bodies, our energy bodies, our hearts totally get it. They go, oh, that makes total sense. It's sort of like when you try to explain a miracle to a child, they go, I don't know what you're talking about. That's just normal. Right? If you tell a child this was a big miracle, in their innocence sometimes they go, no, it's just the way it is.
Right.
So, yeah, which is very, very beautiful.